One of the things which has always concerned me is the lack of true history. If the American people do not know what really happened, how can they understand what is happening today? George Orwell stated this simply in his book, 1984. The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history. Notice that he used the word understanding, not simply knowing. This has been the intent of the John Birch Society since its onset, to create understanding. By eliminating certain facts, you can change an individual's entire outlook. Now extend the lines and eliminate certain facts about what is really going on from an entire population. This is what's been going on for the past 200 years, and it is destroying the American Republic. To give you a better understanding, let me give you some examples. Before I begin, I want to stress the great pains that have been taken to eliminate any knowledge of these things. Those who want to control us want the public to remain ignorant of what lies ahead. It is rarely taught that there was a real problem within the Republican Democrats during the Washington administration. They were being led by French agents through a front group of the Illuminati called the Jacobins. Many of the French immigrating to America served the revolutionary government of France rather than being people who really wanted to be part of the American experience. Back then, the French government promoted the immigration of Jacobin agents into America, and their sole purpose was to destroy the Republic. Some could say this was common knowledge back then. Many of the founders spoke of this in their correspondence with others. Government reports often pointed out how the French were infiltrating America. The last report I could find was from 1920. Back then, the New York State Senate issued a report which stated that the Whiskey Rebellion was fomented by the Jacobins and agents of revolutionary France. It stated, quote, "As an illustration of the effect of European movements upon the United States, we may make reference to the influence which the Jacobin clubs of the French Revolution had upon the malcontents in the United States in the latter part of the 18th century. The Whiskey Rebellion of Western Pennsylvania was the outgrowth of agitation carried on by so-called democratic societies acting under the guise of protectors of civil liberties, which received their inspiration from the French revolutionary societies," unquote. Reporting on this basically stopped after that 1920 report. Right from the beginning, George Washington and many other founders understood the threat of the Jacobins. George Washington had Jacobin agents right in his cabinet. They were responsible for many of the attacks against the administration. They were gradually exposed, but in the meantime, they gave his administration fits. John Adams, in a letter to Thomas Jefferson, recounts the terrorism of Genet in 1793. His letter stated, quote, "When 10,000 people in the streets of Philadelphia, day after day, threatened to drag Washington out of his house and effect a revolution in the government, or compel it to declare war in favor of the French Revolution and against England. The coolest and firmest minds, even among the Quakers in Philadelphia, have given their opinions to me that nothing but the yellow fever, which removed Dr. Hutchinson and Jonathan Dickinson Sargent from this world, would have saved the United States from a total revolution of government," unquote. From all of my research, the agitators in the street that Adams was referring to were actually non-resident Jacobin agents. Adams stated, quote, that nothing but the yellow fever could have saved the United States from a total revolution of government, unquote. It's safe to say that he was probably correct, since back then the yellow fever forced residents to quarantine at home. Agitators had no place to stay and didn't want to go near the town in fear of catching the disease. The yellow fever basically forced the infiltrators out. Do you remember hearing any of this in school? If true history would actually be taught, many would see the pattern of those who seek to destroy our republic, then and now. History books don't discuss how, when federal forces marched into the areas of Pennsylvania to restore order at the time, they witnessed French flags flying overhead instead of the American flag. This is one more detail that is being omitted that shows the connection to the French revolutionary agents and Jacobins and their desire to take over America. If we had learned about the Illuminati, its goal, and its far-reaching affiliates, many would have extended the lines and know who the Jacobins were and why revolutionary France wanted to bring down the Washington administration. Everything leads back directly to the Illuminati conspiracy and those involved. In fact, the Alien and Sedition Acts, which were passed by Congress at the time, were aimed at the revolutionary agents who had come into the country to subvert our republic. Before they were ruled unconstitutional, they resulted in most of the French agents to flee back to France. Just as we deal with problems today of riots, subversion, and attacks on our republican system, the media and those who occupy high offices do all they can to hide what is really behind what is going on. If you knew the real history of America, you would be asking some very important questions about the people who are in power today. They do not want you to do that. To find out many more details that may blow your mind, I suggest getting a copy of my book, To the Victor Go the Myths and Monuments. It is one book that will give you the understanding needed in the fight against those who are seeking to destroy us. Next week, we will discuss a man who was an agent of the same conspiracy who is rarely mentioned in the history books today.